Welcome to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppas with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome to the Human Conversation. This is a solo episode, and it is actually my episode number 60. I mean, honestly, I can't believe I've made 60 episodes of the Human Conversation, and it's so lovely. I love doing it. I have fantastic guests, and I'm going to continue doing it because I am really enjoying this journey, and I hope that you as listeners are enjoying these episodes. So for my 60th episode, I thought I would just do one of my blogs actually that I've written and just put it into an audio version, because I quite like doing that so that I can really chat through some of my thoughts with you. That's what these solo episodes are all about. And this one's called The Art of Using Words. And so it's all about really communication. And obviously I am not an expert in just communication, but communication for me is a huge part of selling. And so I've created an acronym, because everybody who follows me and knows me, you know that I love acronyms. And so everything in this episode is based around the acronym WORDS. And you'll see as we go through what I am thinking about communication and the art of communication. So George Bernard Shaw inspired this episode about business sales success. So when creating my webinar, Selling in a Pandemic, I was looking at the subject of communication. It's a huge one, as are many of these topics relating to selling and life. And as I mentioned before, I'm no expert on communication in terms of it being my specialist subject, but my passion for sales being done right must incorporate a discussion around how we communicate. So let's start with the definition of communication. So if you go into Google and just put in definition, here's what comes up. It says it's a noun, and it's the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium. So that sounds simple enough. However, the act of communication is a bit different from the art of communication. And when we use the art of communication, it may take more effort than just speaking, writing, or whatever chosen method of communicating you have. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So what is the art of communication? Well, let's dissect it. Listening is crucial when communicating, and I've written and done podcast episodes right here on the Human Conversation about this very subject. Brilliant to delve into. Check out the episode with Gail Johnson. I'll put the link in the comments of this episode. And there's great insight on that particular episode. I loved talking to Gail about listening. Stephen Covey says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. That's a really, really interesting quote. And digging deep into that really uncovers what listening is all about. Non-verbal communication is very informative when you understand it, so body language in particular. And you can study this alone and learn so much. And language, written or spoken, can change things in a heartbeat. Barack Obama said it's important to make sure that we're talking with each other in a way that heals, not in a way that wounds. And this is particularly evident, I think, of late, and especially through pandemic. So using emotions in your sales strategy, I often refer to emotions around communication. You can read more about that topic in one of my other blogs on my website, which is all about the missing link when it comes to sales. Again, I'll put the link below in the comments. It's a place I like to start because people buy people. We buy using emotion, and sales are about know, like, and trust. Get the words right and the feeling in those words right, and then you can connect on a different level. So I've created my acronym, and it is WORDS is the acronym. Let's face it, if we get this right, we're on our way to creating the right connections and conversations to build trust and relationships. So the W in WORDS is for why. Yes, of course, you would probably have expected me to say this. It's one of my favorite words right there. You can do so much with this little word in communication, in life, and in selling. It's essential for so many reasons. Why do you want to communicate? Why will other people want to communicate with you? Why is now the right time? And why will someone else benefit from communicating with you? Why does what you have to say have value? So when I talk about the why in sales, I'm referring to the passion behind what you do, your belief and your purpose, your joy and love for your business, and the reward you get for doing that work. Why do you do what you do? This is so important, because if this isn't clear to you, then any communication won't feel authentic and genuine. So you must know your why. And just as important, know your customer's why too. In our current situation, there have been many people feeling lost and confused when it comes to selling and their messaging. Should I sell right now? And what can I say that won't offend people? And how should I approach it all? Well, when you understand the world of the buyer, you understand their why. More importantly, even pre-pandemic, you meet your customer where they are. This shows respect and it builds trust. So you see how important this little word is. And to discover how to use why most effectively, ask, talk, have conversations that are real, curious, and to the point. When you don't know, ask. Never assume. This is where you start with getting the most out of why. The O is for open. Some people can feel really nervous about being too open. They sometimes think that they don't want to tell everyone everything. Being open is not about telling warts and all. It is about being able to open up not only in who you show up as, but also to be able to open up the person that you're actually communicating with. It's connection. Your part in this is about opening your mind to new ways of thinking and accepting that people see things differently. As I always say, step into the world of the buyer and do not dip your toe, immerse yourself. If you show someone that you are open to discovering new thoughts and new ways of being, the people you communicate with will feel more relaxed and accepted. In these first steps, we need to allow ourselves to be non-threatening and interested in who we are communicating with. There is a vulnerability about being open that's endearing and welcoming within communication. Once you've experienced how good openness feels, there is no going back. I am fascinated by people, and so I like to know what makes them tick and what their UHP, their unique human proposition, looks like. You can read more about UHP on my website. Our desire to be curious will help us to open ourselves up, and our buyer will do the same. The advantage of this is huge. You're now exploring the real and honest world of the buyer, what they think, feel, what they need. A great place to build a long-lasting relationship from. The R from words is for resonate. So what a word this is. I love it. If you've ever experienced what it's like to resonate with somebody, then you will completely understand how valuable it can be to create something in your communication that resonates with people. You won't resonate with everyone, so it's vital that you understand the audience and why you want to communicate with them. To resonate suggests that you feel something very firmly and can associate with that message or person. You understand without the need for an explanation. It is a feeling. When I did my TEDx talk, my story was one of the strongest ways that I was able to communicate with the audience. Some resonated with that story, and even if their story was not the same, they felt the same feelings, and they recognized me without knowing me, because it was a mirror of them at that moment and how they had felt. It may sound quite deep, but when it comes to communication, if you can connect on that deeper level, it really can set you aside. As humans, we long to be understood. And if someone is talking the same language and shares similar stories as yours, then there can be an instant bond. Use your stories and empathy to create communication that resonates with your customer and their experiences, and you will be working at a different and welcome level. The D from words is for delivery. So when I talk about the delivery of communication, I refer to the big picture delivery, which consists of whom, when, and how. Let's look at why each of these is important. So whom? So who are we delivering to? We often talk about decision makers when we're selling, and this is valid and always has been. In old terms, we used to call this person the man, the M-A-N. So someone who had the money, the authority, and the need. If the person you are communicating with has all three of these, then you're talking to the decision maker. Beware though, because there may be more than one decision maker, so even more reason to understand the customer's world. The when of delivery is all about timing. Timing is everything. Let's talk right now, as we are currently just coming out of a pandemic. The pace and intervals of your communication will be of paramount importance. For some, they may need what you sell urgently. For others, what you sell is the last thing on their mind. But they may still find it beneficial, and this is where timing comes in. If you're dating someone, at what point might you ask them to marry you? Probably not on the first date, although I have heard this happens. But more likely, you will take your time to get to know them, to build trust, maybe even fall in love. Create a long-term relationship to make it easy for them to buy or marry you in this case. I've said before that dating is very much like selling. So you see why timing is so crucial. Don't rush. Research the territory you're in and nurture and connect. And the how of delivery. So some methods of delivery are more effective than others, and our ideal in most cases as humans was face-to-face. But we don't really know when that's going to be an option all the time again. For now, one of the most popular and well-received ways to deliver communication is video. It's the next best thing to meeting in person. We can see, hear, and experience so much more with video than we can with the written text. So if you can use video as your how, then I recommend you do. The message is the most important thing, but you will have that sorted by following the tips above. Now deliver it with style, using your beautiful uniqueness, your UHP. And finally, in words, my acronym words, the S is for sincere. Everything we say has to be sincere for us to get the best out of our communication. If we're saying things for the sake of it, it really will be evident. We're very conscious, and today I get messages on LinkedIn and other channels that start with, "How are you? I loved your latest podcast and I see you wrote a book. That's brilliant. Now here's what I want to sell to you." It happens a lot. The golden rule is, do not take your customer for a fool. The above example is used because I see it time and time again. And when I see it, what do you imagine I think? And how do you imagine I feel? If you're genuinely interested in my book or my podcast, then we can have a conversation about it. And I'd love to know your views on what you liked about it and whether it helped you at all. Oh, sorry, hang on. You haven't read it. Okay, well, not everyone will. But why then would you mention it in your communication if it is not of interest to you? If you want to show someone that you have taken an interest in them, that you have a genuine reason and not just because you want to sell them something, be smarter and be more sincere. Look at it as if the relationship you want to create is a two-way thing. And so if you learn more about them and they learn more about you, a few things start to happen. One, you may see that you have shared values and lots in common. Number two, they will start to see the value and the UHP that you offer. Three, you can soon sense whether they are actually in the market to buy your product or service. Four, you may find out their network is just the place where you want a wider connection, as they are your ideal clients. And number five, they may have something that has value to you and that you need. The possibilities. That sincerity that takes place in this whole natural process is lovely. So now you've got focus using my acronym, WORDS, to ensure that you think differently when you communicate with your prospective buyers. Life skills are sales skills, as I always say. So master the art of communication and you will see a huge difference in how you build your audience and in turn your business. You might be wondering how George Bernard Shaw influenced this podcast. Well, he said this: the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Don't be the one under any illusion. Be like George. I hope you enjoyed my podcast dedicated to the idea of the fact that there's an art to conversation and communication as opposed to it just being an act. I hope it's given you some food for thought. This is our 60th episode of the Human Conversation. So what a wonderful subject to talk about, the art of using words. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode of the Human Conversation. But for now, from our 60th episode, I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed our human conversation. Please subscribe on the platform that you've listened to. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and soon we'll be on Pandora over in the US. We're also going to be on YouTube with all of these episodes. So thanks a lot for listening. Ta-ta for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening and see you next time.